Belize is home to spectacular biodiversity on land and at sea. Our barrier reef is home to almost 1,400 species, some endangered. The reef works together with mangrove forests and seagrass beds to provide benefits for nature and people. However, these benefits are coming under threat. The combined effects of climate change and human activity are impacting these habitats, causing accelerated degradation of critical coastal ecosystems, and is jeopardizing their biodiversity. The degradation of these habitats not only endangers the species who call it home, but threatens the security of hundreds of thousands of Belizeans. Before we lose these habitats for good, we need to learn more about their importance to our own lives. Through the Protecting Coastal Habitats in Belize through Ambitious Climate Commitments project, the Belize government, in collaboration with WWF, the Pew Charitable Trusts, University of Belize's Environmental Research Institute, and other partners, have been able to approximately value the contributions made by these coastal habitats.
Yes, this initiative is very important and timely. Specifically, the data that is being generated from the first ever national assessment of blue carbon in mangroves will serve to fill an important gap.
So we have had some key outcomes. The main one being that we were able, through the research that we did, we were able to work with the government to set key targets for protection of mangroves and for restoration of mangroves. For example, in terms of protection of mangroves, we have helped the government set a target of increasing protection of mangroves by an additional 12,000 hectares, and also put in place a target of 4,000 hectares of mangroves to be restored by 2030.
The project also saw the creation of the Belize Mangrove Alliance, which brings together government, NGOs, private sector, and local communities with the common goal of conservation and restoration of mangroves.
I think that the development of the Belize Mangrove Alliance is not only something novel, but is something very important for Belize. In terms of mangrove protection and restoration, we face a lot of challenges, including the fact that much of the mangroves that are on Belize coast are in the hands of private landowners. And even with all the regulations that we have, deforestation of mangroves is something that still continues. And so we have more hands in the pot, if I should say so. And I think with this alliance, it will help Belize to achieve its NDC targets even more in terms of the protection of the 12,000 hectares by 2030 and the restoration of 4,000 hectares by 2030 also.
That's not all. Between May and June 2022, a Training of Trainers series of workshops took place, whereby participants built upon skills needed for mangrove restoration. The project supported outreach activities on Belize's mangrove resolutions, which is essential as outreach is one of the ways we can ensure conservation efforts continue.
I believe any type of support that would help the government advance structures for enforcement, management, regulation of resources such as mangroves will always be helpful. Definitely wherever capacity is needed to get regulations updated or to sensitize the public to them, provide education about these regulations is crucial so that people are informed and then they can comply.
Conservation efforts entail challenges, but what matters is how we respond to them to achieve our goal.
I know that the project suffered some setbacks because of the travel restrictions and some scientists couldn't come into the country, but I think that the project management units or whoever was managing it was very innovative in still getting the deliverables and the products. And what I would want to advise is in terms of capacity building, in terms of institutional strengthening. I think those are some key things that the project could focus on. And I believe that there's a phase 2 of this project. And I believe that phase 2 of that project could focus on those key areas, because we have our targets right now, we have our actions, but implementation is key for us now.
Utilizing this information, the World Wildlife Fund and its partners worked with the government to identify and set measurable targets and recommendations for coastal ecosystems protection and restoration. Our coastal habitats protect us and our livelihoods. It's time we all do the same. The work has already started, and while so much has been achieved, the conservation efforts must continue. The government, NGOs, the private sector, and local communities all play a role in taking the lessons learned from this project and implementing them.